better. When Jane posted pictures and videos of the new doll on her website, she was surprised at the overwhelming amount of negative feedback she received. Most dolls provide comfort and security, but Peggy seemed to cause the exact opposite. No less than 80 visitors had written to her to complain of health complications after looking at Peggy. Intense headaches, chest pains, nausea, terror, and haunted visions of a nightmarish institution were the most common complaints. Frozen computer screens were also frequently reported as well. One person in particular reported light bulbs blowing out wherever she went after viewing pictures of the doll. Jane herself says that she is often plagued by migraines and feels quite exhausted after being around Peggy, but she continues to experiment on the doll to learn more. She mainly uses a special paranormal device to communicate with Peggy, and she says that she has been able to use this device to uncover some of the doll's secrets. For example, she believes that Peggy died while feeling chest pains, is mad at someone, and doesn't seem to want to reveal much more due to a stubborn personality. Other psychics, however, have used a channeling technique called automatic writing to learn more about Peggy. This is where the psychic allows the ghost to write through them by offering their hand for use. Using this technique, most psychics agree that Peggy has been possessed by the spirit of a Jewish victim of the Holocaust. This would explain the nightmares people share of being in a dark and dangerous place with overwhelming anxiety. One night, as Jane was recording her findings in a journal, she grew tired from being around Peggy's exhausting aura for too long and decided to retire for the night. When she came back to Peggy's room the next day, the journal was absolutely nowhere to be found. Only when she looked up did she find the journal high up in the rafters. There was absolutely no way for it to get up there on its own, and Jane certainly didn't put it up there herself. Peggy was to blame. She was sure of it. She felt like Peggy was trying to tell her that it was time to stop investigating.
Is that Peggy? Are you making those noises?
Number 1, Jane says. Jane Harris strikes again, this time with a nameless puppet that apparently likes to choke people while they are fast asleep. Jane was given this puppet by a man named John, who didn't want to give his last name. John says that he inherited the marionette puppet from his father in the 60s. When his father was alive, John remembers that no one would sleep in the same room as the puppet because it created a weird vibe. One day, John removed all of his deceased father's possessions from the house. The only thing he didn't get rid of was the puppet, which he left on his bedside drawer and went to bed. At one point, John remembers seeing a shadow dart out from the corner of his eye. Next, someone's hands are around his throat. His throat is completely closed as he tries to wake his wife, but she was deeply asleep and it took a while for her to come out of it. By then, the puppet was back on the drawer. John soon got rid of the puppet, but he says he was still plagued by nightmares of an old man who would either sit on the edge of his bed and look at him, or else sit on top of him and actually strangle him. When Jane received the marionette from John, she knew exactly what to do. Just like other paranormal investigators had decided to watch Anne for signs of activity, Jane decided to record the puppet every night using a camera with night vision. She put the puppet inside of a case that was blessed by a priest first so that it couldn't escape.